So moving on, what are the objectives of this session? What are we trying to, what at the end of this whole session, what are you going to learn? First, you are going to understand meaning and concept of management in health, and which I assume it was covered in previous health management lecture also, as well as you have to, you will be able to understand the importance of some management techniques and where all you can apply this in the field of health. So this is the objective of this whole session. So first, what is the definition of management? Like we are talking about management and especially in health, what do we mean by it? So the meaning of it is that basically it is efficient and effective utilization of resources. So that means the resources which we have, it could be manpower, money, time, okay, any resources which we have. So if we work together in a harmoniously way to achieve whatever objective we have set, okay, so that is the whole process is called as health management. So basically it is efficient and effective utilization of resources can be manpower, money, time. These all are resources which and to get work people to work harmoniously together in order to achieve specific objective. So basically this is the definition of health management. So moving on, basically what are the techniques and how are they classified on the basis of resources? So resources I already described you. It can be money, it can be material, manpower, minutes, that is time. It can be various methods and miscellaneous other things. So we have the resources, and what are management techniques we can apply on these resources are basically listed here. So when we are talking about money, so we what are the techniques? The techniques are cost benefit analysis and cost effective analysis. This is also mentioned in the parks, and in your theory exam, the difference between cost benefit analysis and cost effective analysis is asked. So I think so this was covered in previous management lecture. Plus cost accounting, cost utility, and other money management things are there. Then when it comes to material, which we are going to discuss today, that is basically inventory control. So how to basically manage the material which we have in the stock. So that is what is inventory control. Third is manpower. So in terms of when we are talking about manpower, that is human resources. So what are management techniques we are going to apply? Giving them motivation, leadership by being a good leader, by effective supervision and communication. I think that this has also been covered in previous lectures. So coming to minutes, which we are going to discuss today. So how are you going to manage the time? So you can manage the time by time motion studies, work sampling. I'm going to explain this, what is Gantt chart and what is work schedule, these things. Then there are various methods which you can apply. There are a lot of methods, so effectively utilizing them. For example, we are going to discuss PERT and CPM, which is very important. It can come as a short note for you all. So I'm going to discuss that basically network analysis in detail. So the network analysis, PERT, CPM is like a very favorite question of examiners. Plus cost benefit analysis and cost effective analysis difference is also very important. Miscellaneous other organizational designs and management by objective, which can be a factor in which we can effectively utilize the basically a technique through which we can effectively utilize the resources. So some of these topics have been already discussed in one lecture, and this is the second part of it. So I'm going to discuss some of the topics from these management techniques. So moving on, first I'm going to discuss about the network analysis, which I was telling you all that it is very important topic. Every year almost it comes as a short note, PERT and CPM. So you should be clear about these topics. These topics are also mentioned in the parks. So what is basically network analysis? So reading out the line, what it says is that a technique whereby objectives are identified activities and tasks are involved in attaining the objectives are determined, and the interrelationship are present graphically in the form of network, and it is used on the basis of determining sequence of activities and allocation of resources. So what it is saying is that already when we start anything, we already define our objectives which we want to achieve at the end of this whole process. So achieving those objectives by using an interrelationship, which we will be drawing graphically, so that the resources which we have can be effectively utilized, and the targets which we have set, the objectives which we have set, can be achieved. So there are two parts of network analysis, that is PERT and CPM. So basically, when we are talking about network analysis, as its name suggests, it is a diagrammatically logical sequence, which shows us the start and which shows us the end of the project, and it helps us in a whole guiding process throughout the achieving of the target or objectives. So what are the advantages of it? So basically, its advantages that we can, plan out beforehand, and we can predict it by the diagram. So it is very simple to understand, it is very well described in practical terms, and it applies to any project where activities can be described sequentially. So it will be clear from here. So basically, what is the example? Basically, here what we are doing is we are doing network analysis of measles vaccination program. So what we have done is, you can start with here. So you can see, so a decision comes to start measles vaccination. Okay, so government of India says that you have to start the measles vaccination. So what all things you are going to do? First, you're going to identify the staff which is going to be there in this whole vaccination process. Then that identification of staff, after that, that is not enough. You have to basically train them and monitor them. So you can see the arrow is going towards monitoring and by training the staff. Plus, what you have to also do, you have to see what is the knowledge, you have to see what is the public perception. Okay, so basically, what if they are apprehensive about something, so you have to make educational material about it so that people accept it. So this is the next pathway. One more pathway is, you have to see that whether the fund is available or not. If the fund is available, then you are establishing a cold chain out of it. Then after the establishment of cold chain, you have to see whether the vaccine is available or not. Similarly, you have to see the establishment of surveillance also, which will help us in monitoring, evaluation, and feedback. So basically, what this diagram is showing, beforehand we plan out things, we make a, you can see there's a chain of different things, there's a network of different things, so that whatever target or whatever objective we have set can be achieved at the end of this whole process or a whole program. So in beforehand, the manager or the doctor at the PHC or district hospital basically can draw a network, so that it is clear from the start till the end how it is going to proceed. This is just an example. So there are two types when we are coming to a network analysis. There is PERT and there is CPM. Okay, so difference you should know. And if the question comes on this, if comes on CPM, you can differentiate with PERT also. So it will show that you have read the topic. So first, what is basically program evaluation review technique? It consists of identification of various necessary events in the final achievement of an objective. So in the previous example, you have seen that there were various events like surveillance was there, basically recruitment of vaccines were there. So various necessary events were there, and ultimately the final objective, which was vaccinating the children, would have been achieved. So it consists of identification of various necessary events. Second is that some events depend upon achievement of one single prior event, while some other requires the completion of two or more prior events. So if for example, if one single prior event, if you realize that the community is apprehensive about a measles vaccination because of single cause, so you can make a material out of it, and then you can educate the community. So only single step was sufficient, but sometimes completion of, what happened? Why? Who's raising the hands? Okay, guys. Any issue or any questions? Questions? Okay, I don't know. Please don't raise your hand. It's distracting. You want to finish it early, so just don't raise your hands. Otherwise, I'll keep on stretching it up till 6 o'clock. I don't have any problem with that. Okay, so it consists of identification of various necessary events. It's clear. So I was coming to the completion of two or more prior events. So when we are talking about completion of two or more prior events, in the previous example, we know that we had to maintain a cold chain. So for that, you have to see what equipments are required, whether the equipments are there or not. Then you'll be, arranging for the vaccines, and then you are going to keep it in the vaccine while in the ILR. Then you are going to basically transport the vaccine. So the whole process required 2 or 3 steps. Then only vaccine will be able to, we will be able to reach it, make it to the sub center or PHC wherever vaccination is happening. So basically, it is variable. Some events only depend only on achievement of one single prior event, and some require 2 or more prior events. So basically, coming to the example of PERT, see, this is an example of PERT. You can see this is a diagrammatically logical sequence, which is ultimately leading to a final objective. So you can see starting is A, one any kind of service is planned. For example, we are talking about immunization here. So we are planning a services planned in terms of immunization. And at the end, what is our target? That the service of immunization is provided. So you can see with arrow, there are various steps and various stages in the whole process. First, it is staff recruited, then it is staff trained, then after staff is trained, then the equipment is installed and they are going to work with the equipment. And when the equipment is installed, for example, we are talking about ILR here or something, I'm just giving an example, anything can be there. So equipment installed, then only the service can be provided. So service planned, and then equipment is ordered if it is not there, and equipment installed. So the important point is that you can see here, the time taken is mentioned: 4 months, 2 months, 1 month, 10 month, 2 month, and 1 month. So you can see this whole step of service plan, staff recruited, and staff trained is taking only 6 months plus 1 month, total 7 months. But when you can see the service plan, equipment ordered, equipment installed, this whole step is taking 12 months, right? So you have to know, you can see that different stages of the network is taking different time. So this much clear, like I think so this was simple. So next you can see it is just another slide which is showing that the graphs are used to use in PERT and CPM for carrying out projects and activities. So if you are planning something, you can make a graph. You can see that we have divided it ki hame kitna time lagega. It will take from 1 to 2 step, it will take 10 days. Then from second to fourth step, it will be taking 15 days, and so on. So graphs are basically used if you're planning any activity beforehand, so that we know that the already we can gauge what all issues at which step can take place. For example, in previous example, you can see 10 months it will take for the equipment to be ordered and equipment installed. So you have to make sure that it happens in 10 months. If it gets delayed, it can take 1 year and 1.5 year. So if you are planned beforehand that it is going to take 10 months, so you're already prepared that this is a time taking process. So before logical sequence and before planning helps in achieving the end result of the whole project. So second, I have discussed the PERT. Next is CPM. These two things. This is also mentioned in PACS. So what is basically critical path method? So it is the method which will help in accomplishment of projects most economically by coordination and control of different activities. So critical path is made up of activities that cannot be delayed without delaying the completion of the project. Okay, so you can see here. This is service plan, staff recruited, staff trained, equipment installed, and equipment order and service provided. As I have given example, here you have to identify basically what is the critical path. So as you can see that here, sorry, as you can see, if this whole process of G, okay, so if this 10 month, this is the longest pathway. If this gets affected in any way, the whole process of the network analysis will get affected. So this G is very crucial. Okay, if this gets affected, the whole pathway of network analysis will get affected. So basically, a float or a slack is simply how much time on activity can slip before its path changes to critical path. So basically, we use in layman languages also we use slack term. So basically, what is float or slack? It is basically we pre-hand decide ki how much time an activity can slip before before its path and changes to a critical path. So the focus of CPM is on calculating the slack. Basically हमें पहले से prepare होके रहना होता है कि if a float or slack comes in the whole process in order to determine which activities have least scheduling flexibility. So अगर 10 महीने से 12 महीने हो जाएगा तो पूरा जो process है बाकी चीजें तो short duration में हो रही हैं, but if 10 months or 12 months or it extends to 1.5 year, it whole pathway, a whole process will be affected. So what I was saying was the path which takes the longest time for completion between beginning of the project and the completion is the critical path. So here AFGE is the critical path. Once it is identified, attention can be focused on these critical activities. So we know that that was the longest path, and if there's any delay in that path, the whole network analysis will be affected. Whole process, everything will be delayed. So basically we'll consider the fact that these problems or these slack can come beforehand, and then we are going to pre-plan that if this problem arises, how we have to handle it. So a reduction in time necessary for completion of project is possible only if there is a reduction time taken by the critical path. So अगर इस path अगर हमें पूरे whole process को if we have to we want to reduce the time, so we have to reduce this G step. It's the longest time which is taking, and if you want to lower the total time which will be taken in completion of project, so we have to focus on the G path. So next is work sampling. Basically, what is work sampling? It is a method of sampling used to estimate the utilization of equipment, machine, and vehicle. So basically, what I'm going to explain with the example. See, the last point is saying the observation on the staff of a PHC showed that 15% of time is spent on direct services, basically on actual treatment. 34% time is spent on supportive services, and 21% time spent on travel, and 30% on personal non-productive work. So from this you are clear that whatever basically whatever services is being provided or whatever we are doing at PHC, how much percentage of time it is taking. So 50%, you can see the whole working hour of PHC. In that 15% of time is spent only on actual treatment. So rest is on the preparation or on other extracurricular activities. So this will tell us that the a percentage of time which is basically staff is engaging in during the whole duration of their day. So if 15% of the time is only engaged by the staff in actual treatment of the patient, so this will tell us the percentage of time spent on the services or a percentage of time spent on other things. So this is what is work sampling. So it permits judgment to appropriateness of staff. So we can know that if we want to if you can see 34% time is spent on supportive service like admin, so we can recruit more staff in this so that the time can be reduced and the basically actual treatment time should be increased. So we can plan ahead that how can we reduce the percentage of time which is spent on other unnecessary things which is not helping in actual treatment of the patient at the level of PHC. So this is an example of work sampling. Other thing is decision making, which we do it in daily life, making decisions for something. So this decision should be made at level where the best decisions can be made. It does not follow that the best decision is always made at the top of the organization. So we can see we know the example of need based approach, so from bottom to top approach. So the how much contraceptives are required can be best assessed at the subcenter PHC level, and the need will be sent at the top organization. Earlier it was top to bottom approach, so they used to send us their targets and they used to send us itna contraceptive you have to do it and achieve, which is basically it's not need based. So basically it shows that decision should be made at the level where the best decisions can be made, and it doesn't mean that it has to come from top of organization. So for example, in the health sector, decisions have to be made out about development of resources and optimum workload and strategies of providing the health care. So basically this is what is decision making. And then one more thing is time scheduling or Gantt chart. So then you become when some students are already engaged in various projects, okay, and you will be then engaging in thesis writing in the in your post graduation. So here what we do is that we already do make a Gantt chart. So in what is it basically? Making a time schedule beforehand. So Gantt chart is a graphical representation of duration of task against the progression of time. So as the time progresses, how are we going to and what are we going to achieve is pre-planned in the Gantt chart. Gantt chart allows us to assess how long a project should take. सो कितना टाइम लगेगा हमें किसी प्रोजेक्ट के किसी भी चीज को मैं अभी एग्जांपल से आपको समझाऊंगी अचीव करने में। ये गैंट चार्ट से हम पहले से ही डिसाइड करके रखते हैं। So basically, a Gantt chart is a bar chart that shows the task of a project and when each must take place and how long each will take. So as a project progresses, bars जो होते हैं shaded shows the task needs to be completed. If it is written that in 2 months we have to complete writing our introduction for an project, so the timeline will show that in 2 months this has to be completed. So Gantt chart basically helps us in monitoring the progress. How are we progressing? If we had planned that we have to write the introduction in 2 months, so whether we will be able to achieve it or not. And Gantt chart allows us to see how remedial actions may bring the project back on course. So through Gantt chart, we you can track our time and we can see what how we are doing in the project in the whole proposal which we have planned ahead. And if there is any delay and we are not able to achieve it, then we will be basically revising the timeline or Gantt chart, and so that our target is achieved within the set duration. So when we have to use the Gantt charts, we have to use it in scheduling and monitoring the task within a project, as I was explaining. Second, in communicating plans or status of project. So how we are doing with it, which we have reached, whatever we had planned, are we able to achieve it or not? Third is when the steps of the project or process, their sequence and their duration is already known. If we know that in 1 year we have to submit our thesis, so we have to plan as well that in how much month we are going to write intro, methodology, results and discussion. So it is already pre-decided कि हमें 2 महीने में intro खत्म करना है, 4 महीने में data collection करना है, 2 महीने में results बनाने हैं, and remaining 4 months में हमें dissemination and compilation वगैरह करना है. So it should be the Gantt chart helps us in planning ahead. So when it's not necessary to show which task depends on completion of previous task. So uh, it's basically it shows ki if one thing is we have to achieve, it is independent of the other previous tasks. So if introduction is not dependent on methodology and methodology is not dependent on introduction, then only this can work. Because otherwise, if one pathway is delayed, others will be delayed because of that. So you can see here, if we are doing any thesis, so preparation and protocol of and questionnaire, we are planning here in 15 days, we are going to finish it. Then in next 15 days, we are going to take ethical approval of it. Then in small last 5 days, we are going to recruit staff and so on. So there is a proper timeline कि हमें ये सारी जो हमारे targets हैं, see, we have to finish the report writing as we have to submit it by 26th October. So we are going to finish the report writing by 28 June से लेके 27 August तक and compilation in last month. So this is basically what is Gantt chart. So whoever is involved in project or plan to be involved in project, you should show the Gantt chart. It shows that you have planned ahead and you know what you are going to achieve in what time period. In your even in your third year, you know that you are going to finish it by October if your exams are in October, hopefully. So you can plan ahead कि इतने time में you want to achieve these things so that you can pass the exam. Similarly, this is another like how to draw it. So it's in a box form. It's much more clear and it's easy to explain and make it. So you can see in 2 weeks background information लेंगे if we are planning to do any project. Then preparation of the plan week 3 से week 4 में करेंगे. Then developing a questionnaire we'll do it in 5th week and so on. So through this is an example how can you can make a Gantt chart. And you can see these two processes can go side by side. You here in the example developing questionnaire is happening in 5th week, as well as writing review of literature, which is independent of this, is also happening in 5th week. So basically it shows us that how we are going to plan and process in the coming next 16 weeks. Another is time motion studies. So what is time motion studies? It consists of observing And timing by using stopwatches, the physical work and movement carried out by a worker. So basically जैसे the people who जो basically bricks उठाते हैं, so we can see कि वो bricks उठा के अगर truck में रख रहे हैं, it's a basically time motion study. So how much time it is taking? अगर आपको लगता है it is taking too long time and it is the whole direction and way or रास्ता what we say is long, you can provide a vehicle so that they can take it to the truck, take them to the truck, and it will be reducing the time. So basically, time motion studies tells us the movements carried out in performance of a task are then broken into segments, analyzed and redesigned so the task can be accomplished more efficiently. If you think by doing time motion study that is, it's taking a lot of time. अगर brick जो उठा रहे हैं वो यहाँ से काफी दूर है truck and they are taking it to that place, they can provide them with a vehicle or they can provide them with a container which they can stretch it with the wheels to the truck. So basically planning out to decrease the time which is taken in performance of a task. Then one more thing is queuing theory. So what is queuing theory? Basically, we are going to analyze the waiting time, waiting lines or waiting time. So excessively queuing can quick erode consumer or patient loyalty. If you can see in the government hospitals, you can see in LNJP, there is a huge line, right? There is a huge queue. So that's why people start panicking that government hospitals have long queue. How they start coming in line at 6 and 7 a.m. so that they get an opportunity to meet the doctor early. So uh, for that we can minimize the time by the user standing in a queue. For example, in AIMS they have started online booking, online registration of the so that time can be reduced. So if we can assess on the basis of the queue how much time it is taking, and we can minimize the time spent by the users by standing in the queue. Something, this is an example for it. Now one more thing is performance budgeting. Basically we budget out the whole performance, all the stages in it, and outcome budgeting. So if we have planned some outcome out of it, so we budget beforehand that how much it is going to financially cost us. Financial so for इसके तीन phases होते हैं. First we are going to give details of the infrastructure which is going to involve objective, targets, what are the previous achievements, everything will be given in details. Then we are going to budget it ki how much financial requirements it will take. So if we are planning a study, if we are going to travel, so travel cost will be written in the budget. If we are going to take any computer for it, computers will be in the budget. So basically financial requirements in achieving the outcome that will be planned ahead. And then we are also going to explain for the financial requirement. So why are we going in phases, and why whatever we want to achieve, outcome we want to achieve, you have to explain. For example, I have written in my budget that I want a computer, so in the right column you are going to explain why do you need a computer. You need it for analysis purposes or something else. So you have to write it down, the explanation for the financial requirements. This whole is basically performance budgeting. There are other miscellaneous methods like managed by walking around. If a senior resident is walking around PHC monitoring or managing the interns and PGs, basically that is management by walking around and making a work plan, which we do it in our daily life. I hope we all do it in our daily life. Ki how we're going to plan day to day work or week work. That is the work plan. And then checklist, that if we make a checklist that I have to go for grocery shopping, I have to achieve my I have to do 100 MCQs. So we are basically making a checklist, and we are going to tick on whatever we have achieved and we plan to achieve. So checklist is basically that. So next important part is material management. So when we are coming to material management, what are the objectives of this session and what we are trying to achieve? First is to understand the concept of material management. So concept, what is basically material management. Second, understand the concept and various techniques in inventory control. So I'm going to explain what is inventory control. So these two are the objectives of this session. If there are any questions up till now, you can ask. Otherwise, we are going to continue. Are there any questions? No questions. Okay. Right. Moving on. Either it's too clear, or either you're not sleeping, or either you're not understanding. With the problem with GoToWebinar is it's very difficult to monitor. So let's see. Okay, so moving on. Uh, just a second. Minutes. Okay, so moving on, we are now to the material, continuing with the material management wala part. Hmm. Okay, moving on. Okay, so what we have to see is what is material management. So when we are talking about material management, basically it is a scientific technique which is concerned with the planning, organizing and controlling the flow of materials from the initial purchase through internal operations to the distribution or to the service points. So this whole is what is basically material management. So showing it with the diagram, we can see we demanded we demanded an estimation. For example, let's see it with an example of for example, we are recruiting a cooler in cooler, 2 or 3 coolers in our PHC, right? So we will send them that 3 coolers, like we are demanding them, and then we are going to procure it. Then we're going to receive it, and you to inspect it. If it is not possible to use it right now, so we are going to store it, and then we are also going to see how we are going to maintain it and repair it. And if it is of no use to us, if it is an old one, it has been recruited from some district, then we are going to condemn it and we are going to dispose it. And this whole information is basically accounting and information system, and this is going to take place in a you can see in a kind of cycle or interlinked way. So this whole is material management cycle. So when we come to it comes to material management, there are basically three costs which one should know. One is basically ordering cost, that is setup cost. The cost which we have estimated key at the time of ordering. If we are ordering a drug at PHC level, we are ordering some list of drugs. So at the time of at that time, whatever expenditure which is going on, or whatever expenditure we are listing, that is basically ordering cost or setup cost. After that, carrying cost or holding cost. If we are if we are renting a place and we are storing the drugs in that, so that is basically carrying cost or holding cost, which is the cost which is due to holding of the drugs. In this example, that is carrying cost. Then stock out cost or shortage cost. So shortage cost because we didn't plan it ahead, or the patients which we estimated, but patients came up in a like much more in many much more number which was expected. So basically then we are going to instead of from government supply, we are going to buy it, and we are going to provide it. So basically that is stock out cost or shortage cost. So ordering cost, carrying cost, and stock out cost, three are important. So inventory carrying cost is further divided into capital cost. So whatever, if we are buying drugs or we are buying any coolers, that is basically capital cost. So it is basically inventory as investment. Then inventory service cost. So the if we are buying a AC or cooler, the insurance or anything else, so insurance for it and the taxes we are going to pay, that whole is inventory service cost. Then there is storage space cost. So if we are taking any we are renting any warehouse or public warehouses we are using, or company owned warehouses, it is occupying a space, so that is storage space cost. And the inventory risk cost is if there's any damage or spillage or relocation, that all whole cost is called inventory risk cost. So these all four costs combined is inventory carrying cost. So there are certain principles in material management which one should know of. First is first in first out principle. So first in first out principle, I can explain it with an example. For example, if you're recruiting drugs at your center and you know that the drugs will expire in the August, you have recruited it and you have taken it you have ordered it in March and it is expiring in October, right? And same drugs, then again you gave the quarterly demand and you're recruiting you are ordering the drugs in September, and then their expiry date is in mm, example March next month, next year. So first you are going to what you are going to use the one which came in, like for example which came in March and which is going to expire in September, instead of the one which you ordered in next like August, and then it is going to expire in next year March. So first in, the first which we are taking in and should be first out, because we are expecting the expiry date to be nearer. So first in first out principle is there in material management. Next is lead time concept. So what is lead time? It is the period between placing an order and basically receiving the supply. So there should be a stock कि जब हम order कर रहे हैं और जब supply receive कर रहे हैं, ऐसा ना हो कि patients को तब drug ही ना मिले. So we should always, when we send a demand, we should always keep in a mind, lead time in mind, that there will be a period between placing an order and receiving the supply, and the drug should be available at that point of time, and the patient should not go back. Then third thing which should be keep in mind is buffer stock. So what is buffer stock? Basically it is the quantities of store set apart as an insurance against the variation in demand and the procurement period. So buffer stock हम basically use नहीं करते, हम side में रखते हैं कि अगर you know because of some reason or because of like any issues at the stock gets over or anything else, then we keep a buffer stock so that कि अगर वो चीजें मीट नहीं हो पा रही हैं या फिर कोई इशू हो गया है तो हमारे पास कब हर टाइम बफर स्टॉक हो कि हमारे पेशेंट्स कभी वापस ना जाए. So there is a concept of buffer stock. So two bin method or double shift method is there, in which two bin signifies one regular stock and other reserve stock. So when it is needed to shift from regular basically it tells us that there is an alert and we should order and we should send a demand again. So there is a basically reserve stock and regular stock which we are using, and reserve when it is over and we are moving to reserve stock, it is a sign that we should order and place our demand, otherwise even reserve stock will be over and we will be left with no drug. It is similar to what when we use a bike and the reserve petrol is over, so it is an indication that we should go and fill up the we should get it filled up the bike. So last point is reorder level. So reorder level is the stock levels at which fresh orders have to be placed. That is basically reorder levels is basically buffer stock, and lead time stock addition is reorder level, so which we have already discussed. So another thing, another definition which is important is economic order quantity. So the quantity to be procured or purchased at which the cost of ordering the annual requirement of an item and the cost of holding that item in stock are equally, basically nearly equal. So basically just remember that it is a big, it's at थोड़ा high level पे है for you, but जब ordering cost and the holding cost is almost basically equal, then it is we have achieved an economic order quantity. Just don't go into detail of this. So next is inventory control. So what is inventory control? Basically it is method of maintaining a stock. हमें stock ऐसे level पे रखना होता है at which purchasing and stocking cost are lowest possible. So सबसे कम पैसे हमें खरीदने में और सबसे कम पैसे हमें उसको stock करने में लग रहे हैं. So without interference with the supply, that is basically inventory control, method of maintaining a stock. So why is it needed? To have material in hand when needed. इन्वेंटरी कंट्रोल से हम पहले से प्रिपेयर्ड होते हैं कि जब हमें ड्रग्स चाहिए तो हमें ऑलरेडी हमारे पास हो, कभी स्टॉक आउट ना हो. प्लस हमें इन्वेंटरी इन्वेस्टमेंट कम करना पड़े. वी हैव टू प्लान इट इन सच अ वे, वी हैव टू प्लान इट आउट कि स्टॉक आउट ना हो, एंड क्लाइंट सर्विस इज नॉट affected and it is at reasonable level and we can work at efficiency. So इसलिए हम पहले inventory control basically this is the whole concept of inventory control. So inventory control includes lot of things. First is you have to focus on the location, storage, recording and accounting of the inventories. Second, you have to see to it helps us, it promotes and it helps to supply the inventory to different departments if we have planned out earlier. It helps us in keeping a record of the inventory issued. It provides prompt and proper services to all concerned departments. It helps in us in maintaining the inventory at lowest cost possible. Just a second. Okay, Noor, at your level, Pax is good enough. Plus, these slides are very good enough for your level. But if you want to go in detail, this Sathe book, which is there for management, for health management, basically. You want to read it, you can take it from me. Otherwise, it's like I don't know, but I think so. These slides and Pax is enough at your level. So Sathe is the author and which we use for management, but at your level, it's these slides and Park's book is enough, what I feel. So helps to maintain inventories at lowest cost. Then it uh okay, what happened now? Okay, ma'am, thank you. Okay, fine. So it bifurcates high value, low value stock of goods, and plus it avoids overstocking and understocking raw material. Basically, who likes management, they will be interested in this topic because it's an interesting topic, and we are only concerned with health management, but the MBA people are going into a lot of details of management. But for us, health management is only enough. So for that, Sathe is there, Rajiv Bhalwar book is there if you want to go into details. Otherwise, packs and these slides are also enough for you all. Then what are the techniques or inventory control? Okay, so major portion of the capital is basically which we lock up or stock. So that is the maximum cost, which is major portion which is taking. So the basic principle inventory or control is to contain the cost and manage the stock effectively. So अगर हम उस cost को control कर लेंगे, so we can manage the stock effectively. So good inventory control will ensure that there will be no stock out. अगर हम पहले से plan करके रखते हैं, good inventory control का plan करते हैं, तो there surety there will be no stock out ever, as well as it will be no overstocking. पता चला हमें इतना stock कर लिया and the drugs expired and it is not consumed. That is also not a good inventory control. So item in any organization can be analyzed into number of classifications. So for that there are number of classifications. There's ABC and VD analysis, and there's HML analysis, SD analysis, and FX analysis. Okay, so you don't have to go into much details of it. At least you should know what is the full form of it, and the example. If you want to get a like very good marks in exam, then you should learn everything related to it. Otherwise, even this like full form of it and one example is also enough for you at your level. So basically, what is ABC analysis? It is based on cost criteria, which is governed by Pareto's law. So what is basically it talks about? It generally is basically a small number of items consumes a big chunk of resources, and similarly vice versa. Pareto's law is saying that. So ABC principle is a full form of it. Okay, so come. Okay, just a second. This is ABC. Uh, about around 10% of drug store material costs 70% of the resources, that is group A. 20% of drug stored consume 20% of resources, that is group B. And remaining 70% of the drug would consume 10% of the resources, that is group C. So you can see the A, which is 10 to 15 percentage of item, is basically requiring 70 to 80% of investment. The drugs which are costly in market, for example, which is not used, if there is any drug for a heart disease or cancer treatment, so it is only 10 to 15% which we are which we want, but it is it is so costly, it is taking up our 70 to 80% investment. And similarly 60 to 70 percentage of item is only 5 to, for example, paracetamol, only 5 to 15% investment is going into that. So this is basically categorizing the item into A, B, C. So the annual expenditure of the individual items are arranged in descending order. So जब से सबसे ऊपर से लेके नीचे तक हम कॉस्ट के हिसाब से उसको अरेंज कर देते हैं कि कितना हमारा खर्चा लग रहा है मैक्सिमम से मिनिमम के मतलब सबसे ज्यादा से सबसे कम की तरफ. So the cumulative cost of all the items is calculated. Then the cumulative percentage of expenditure and the cumulative percentage of number of items are calculated. On the basis of that, it is divided into three categories, that is ABC, on the basis of cumulative cost percentage. So 70%, 20%, 10% हमें पता चल जाएगा on the basis of that by adding these cumulative percent of expenditure and cumulative percentage of number of items. Now there is VED analysis. So what is VED analysis? Vital, essential and desirable. So 10% is basically vital life saving drugs की जिसकी अगर absence होगी तो patient can't be saved. So that is taking up 10%. Okay. So the based on the critical inventory can be classified into essential. Essential है जिसके absence can be tolerated for a short period of time. Then desirable is even if it is not available, it can be tolerated for a long period of time. So when we basically the best method of inventory control is combining the ABC and VED analysis. I know guys, I think so it's going a bit high level. Just remember this chart. See, we are combining ABC with VED. So AV, AE, AD and BV, CDV is category 1 which is taking 15% of our total मतलब जो कॉस्ट है प्लस हमारा जितना चाहिए तो 15% हम ये वाले ड्रग्स हैं. Then category 2 40% है, that is BE, BED and CE, and CD is only taking 45% of whole stock. सो बेसिकली कैटेगरी 1 आइटम्स जो हम यहाँ पे डिस्कस कर रहे थे AV, AE, AD वाले, these items are the most important ones and require control by the administrator himself. तो ये बहुत ज्यादा important है और इन पे हमें हर टाइम ध्यान देना पड़ता है. कैटेगरी 2 आइटम्स, these items are of मतलब थोड़ा बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, इंटरमीडिएट इंपॉर्टेंस है, शुड बी अंडर कंट्रोल ऑफ ऑफिसर इन चार्ज ऑफ स्टोर. एंड कैटेगरी 3 आइटम्स जो हैं, जो कि वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट CD जो आइटम है, these items are of least importance और ये स्टोर कीपर आराम से स्टोर कर सकता है. It doesn't need lot of monitoring. Items are highly critical but required in small quantity, that is V वाला जो VED analysis का V है, and A जो कि small quantity should receive highest priority. So V और A वाले जो items हैं, ये जो AV है, this AV needs the highest priority. इस पे बहुत ज्यादा ध्यान देने की जरूरत पड़ जाती है. ओके. एंड जो D वाले आइटम्स हैं, जो कि हमारे डिजायरेबल आइटम्स थे, ये D वाले, दी नीड्स द लोएस्ट प्रायोरिटी, तो हमें उस पे इतना ध्यान देने की जरूरत नहीं है. सिमिलरली दिस HML एनालिसिस एंड SD एनालिसिस, नेम इज इनफ, यू डोंट हैव एन FSN एनालिसिस. अब बाद में स्लाइड देख लेना, इतनी डिटेल में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. Okay, so the right drugs, supplies, equipment must be at right place at a right time in right quantity in order that health personnel delivery health services right away. So through inventory control you are clear कि अगर हमारे पास हम ढंग से inventory management कर रहे हैं, हम ढंग से उसको store कर रहे हैं, we are noticing इसका expire तो नहीं हो रहा, we are following the FIFO principle of first in and first out. We are basically managing all the resources in a right way, that is money, time, money, time method, which we discussed in the starting, so that we can provide the best services at the healthcare sector. And these principles should be known to doctors, because at certain level they also work as an administrator in hospital, and if they have idea about these things, they can better control the drugs, and the services could be enhanced, and then it could be provided in a much more efficient way. So that is it guys. It was a like, I don't know, it the topic is interesting. If you'll go through the slides, it's an interesting topic. It's we read it in much more detail in our community medicine, but for you guys, these slides and parks is enough, I'm telling you. But अगर आपको पढ़ना है, you can read Sartre, you can read Rajiv Bhalwar. That is also good. Both books are good if you want to go into details. Otherwise, for your level, for UG level, I think so Parks and these slides are well enough. And just refer to the health management one slides also. I don't know. I think so. Amod sir only took that class. I'm not sure which faculty took that class. So just go and revise that also, and revise this also. So Gauss benefit analysis you should know, then cost utility analysis. That will be I'm 100% sure that would have been discussed in health management one. And this we have basically discussed the material management wala part. So if you want to score good marks, revise these, and short notes will come out of it. Long questions I don't expect, but short notes will be there from this topic. So if there's any doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, come in department, ask. अब तो आने लग गए हो आप लोग, and start reading. I already told you FHAP was super bad, Viva was super bad, and all of you are not reading. So start reading, you guys. Even if you pass from our department in NEET exam, community medicine is like high, बहुत high weightage है इसका. And ये management questions भी आते हैं. All type of questions come in that. So you have to read community medicine. So any doubts, anything you want to ask, please ask. Otherwise, I'll be closing the session. If there are any doubts, I'm giving you 2 minutes. Please ask. Otherwise, we are always there in department. All the SRs, you can come and ask in person. There's no problem in that. We're always there. Any questions? No questions? Should I close the session then? Okay, so that is it. If there's any, doubts later on, just come and talk to us at any time. That is it. Chalo. Goodbye, guys. I'm closing.